recording and we are streaming live. I'm waiting for the encoder to come up. It should be up right about now. And there we are. Okay, let's have the music. Thank you, Michael.
All right, 10 seconds. Going to send you that feed. Have a great show.
Here we go. Everybody smile. You're going to dance with me. I have to pick on somebody. Who am I going to pick on?
I'll dance.
You're all going to dance. My drums are in the other room. Roger, I'm going to pick on you. Roger, behave yourself. There you go. Here we go. Come on, dance.
Welcome to Read My Lips Radio, a lively hour of unscripted conversations with savvy creatives. Producer and host, akaRadioRed, asks novelists, artists, photographers, designers, comedians, actors, musicians, composers, screenwriters, directors, and technology innovators about their creative passion, inspirational muses, and how they create. Ooh, how those lips can talk. Now, here's akaRadioRed.
akaRadioRed in the house. It's Monday. Where in the world else would she be on Monday? It's Read My Lips. We talk about creativity. You don't sing, you don't dance, you don't paint, don't do sculpture. You're a creative anyway. I didn't come with a manual right out of mom. She didn't say, this is what you're going to be. Oh, I got some guidance, parents, teachers, everybody else. But hey, this is my life. I figured it out. And that's who my guests are. Real people who created their life, their lifestyle, their business, their hobbies, everything from how they talk, how they walk, how they look, where they live, what their business is, what their passions are. There we go. We don't say hobbies, we say passions. Guests, before I introduce you in a moment, would you please do me the honor of raising your fingers in the shape of the letter L? They all knew what to do. Oh my God, I've never seen. Let's see if you can do this well. Michael, my engineer, is standing by to see how you rank. On the count of three, follow along with me, and we're going to. Oh, Emilio, you're doing the dancing L. She's a dancer. I know how you knew. On the count of three, join me in saying hello, L, 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 just like that. 1, 2, 3. Hello, L, L, L. Michael, you can put them in a tie for second place as the most coordinated, the most passionate, the most enthusiastic. Thank you all. I appreciate that. LLL is lovely, lanky Laura Legs, our most loyal listener. If you heard the show, you know she lives in Whitestone, New York. Now, listen, Emilio, I was going to move to London a couple of years ago, but it was kind of hot and a little expensive. But I had this little case of vertigo. And so when I looked at the map, I tilted my head and how can I tell you? It all turned upside down and London turned into Loudon and I ended up in Loudon, Tennessee. I'm not sure quite how. I bought this house on Zoom. What can I tell you? So I've been trying to get Laura to move to Loudon because it's a lot cheaper from Whitestone to Loudon than it is to London, but she may be in London by now. I don't know. Laura will email me at around 6:01 p.m. Eastern time tonight and she will say to me, here's what Emilio said. Here's what Roger said. Here's what she writes a little like a book report about what each of you said based on my promo that you received today and that I posted, plus what she hears you say, and she will love all of you. So shout out to Laura. And we met dancing, and that's why we call her Legs. Today is November 18th. What? 323rd day of 2024 in the Gregorian calendar. What? Did you know that the calendar before Gregorian was missing about 13 days in the month of October? It went from like the 3rd to the 15th, Roger, with no way to celebrate your birthday if you were in between. So Gregorian said, I'm Gregorian, I'm smart. I'm going to throw in a leap year every 4 years. We'll talk to the moon, we'll talk to the sun, and we'll get it all straightened out. And he did. That's why we have the Gregorian calendar. 43 days left, and it's time for me to tell you, if you're planning something wonderful to imbibe, alcoholic or not, on New Year's Eve, start planning right now. Emilio, if you're going to get the still from Grandpa out the back and start making some used to be bootleg whiskey, start now. Roger, if you're going to go in the garage and make some kind of Kahlua, the spices need to meld and mellow. You got to start tomorrow. I promise you. Annie, if you have special champagne in mind, all the shelves will be cleared out in a couple of weeks, especially with Thanksgiving coming. Buy it right away. There's my advice to all of you. So I have something in the news before I introduce you, and I want you to all of you be very, very happy because 96 years ago today, November 18th, 1928, Minnie and Mickey Mouse appeared together for the first time in a short film called Steamboat Willie. I want you to know that. 96 years ago. Minnie's original name was Minerva, and she appeared in May, a few months before this, in a 6-minute silent short called Plain, Plne, Crazy. They first made her out to be a flapper girl. She had high heels and she tripped a lot. So Mickey had to, he had to help her out, damsel in distress. And then when we got into the 1940s and 50s, Well, people were getting more modern and they didn't want the flapper girl who tripped all everything. She became a housewife. What can I tell you? But years later, Walt Disney did privately say they were married. Minnie and Mickey were legally married. I just wanted to break that to you. So now it's time for me to really introduce my guest. They're sitting saying, when is she getting around to me? I'm on her guest. What's she talking about? Minnie and Mickey. See, I'm all choked up. Okay, let me get ready to read this. Here we go. When I call your name, please wave furiously so everybody knows who you are, like they can't tell. Welcome to Read My Lips, where creativity takes flight. Cool conversations with creatives, a round table of delight. On the Scarlett mic, akaRadioRed, holds sway. I'm not on a ship, inviting you to explore imagination, maybe in a new way. Today's episode, The Hospitality of Creativity. Annie, this is in honor of you. We're ready to start. We hope to reach you with passion and heart. Meet my savvy creatives in the live streaming glow. Their stories will inspire you more than you expect and know. Annie McCune, here we go. From Western New York, Annie McCune's journey takes flight. I'm repeating that word, sorry. With a heart for hospitality, she shines a welcome light. No Pinterest perfect needed, just grace and care. Her stories of kindness invite us with flair. Walking with birds or in gardens in bloom, Annie turns every house into a welcoming room. I hope you like that, Annie.
Very sweet. Thank you.
Roger liked that too. Here we go. Emilio Justo, MD, from Cuba's shores to a global TEDx stage. Dr. Justo's wisdom is a gift for any age. With patience, perseverance, and disciplined might, his book and talks guide us toward more personal. Oh, he's rocking for that one. Healing eyes. I want to see your healing eyes. And spirits. His legacy is true, changing lives with each breakthrough that he will pursue. Do you like that, Emilio?
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Radio
good.
Red.
You're welcome. And Roger, I go. From saxophone tunes to poetic muse, Roger's creativity breaks through and imbues. From Berkeley trained to event design fame, his epic productions redefine the game. With vision and passion, Roger's talents entwine, crafting memories that stand the true test of time. Roger, you like that?
Yay. Thank you.
Yay.
Yes,
Let
that's
me
so
finish
good.
now. Good. So join me, akaRadioRed, as we dive into the flow with today's The Hospitality of Creativity, ready to go. That life's true magic's when we dare to be bold, and creativity stories hold lessons to be told. Gather round, lend us your eye and ear as we dive into creativity with visions clear. akaRadioRed's roundtable is set today. We hope to inspire you to live large, love life, and play. Okay, how'd I do? What do you think?
Outstanding.
Okay.
Nice job.
Let
Love
me
it.
tell you,
Good.
transparency. I have at least 2 shows a week with at least 7 guests total, and everybody sends me a bio that's about 300 words. Okay. All right. I can't go through everything. So I have a dear friend. Her name is Sylvia. She's ChatGPT. She told me I'm allowed to call her my virtual assistant, and she said I could call her Sylvia. I don't know how many other people have that relationship with their chatbot. And I say, I have these wonderful guests coming on. I'm going to give you the opening of the show and the closing that I wrote. Would you please send me a 4 or 6 line poem based on their bios? And she does. Have you all seen the show, the quiz? Does any? Okay,
I
you
have.
know. It takes her less than 2 seconds to reply with the shell of the poem. But that's not where it stops, because I'm still a human. I'm a writer and a poet, and I know it. So I go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, and I compare it to the bio you sent me, and I make sure that she picked the right highlights. That the rhymes I'm not worried about, I redo them, but I want to make sure that we got all of the key points of who you are. So I do a little rewriting, and then I put it in my notes. So how'd I do? Sylvia and I, we did well? I'm glad.
I think you did great.
I'm glad. I don't know any other host I do this on my technology show on Wednesday. People say, what, a technology show? She's opening with a rhyme? Yes, I am. I'm getting dry here. Okay, let's do a little bio enhancement here, please. That almost sounds like a medical procedure, Emilio. I'm sorry. Okay, let's leave that one on the table. Annie McCune, I'm putting you on speaker view. I am so honored to have you here. I met Annie and Emilio at a recent publicity summit online, the virtual National Publicity Summit. And I met Roger through our mutual contact, Freddie Cruz. And we'll talk about that later. So, Annie, I'm putting you on speaker view. We would love for you to take about 3 minutes and fill in the blanks. What is all this hospitality stuff? Where are you? What do you do? And how do you make the world happy? Annie, go ahead.
Okay. I started out kid in Western New York with grandparents next door, cousins down the street, open doors. It was just very normal to have people in and out of the house all the time. And I realized when I got to college, not everyone did that. And not everyone had the security and feeling of you are loved by someone really close by, even if it's not your brother or sister at the time. I brought that into our marriage, and we have just found that by opening our door, people show up. And once people know there's an open door, more people show up, and you get a reputation for that sort of thing. And then, kind of, when you talked about the light going on in the house, that's what people said, like, do you have a light on? How do people find their way to your house? We don't know. But over the years, we've been married for 44 years. We have had thousands that have come and stayed, some for a day, some for a week, some for a year. We've been able to just have amazing experiences. But part of my hospitality became really enriched when I started having experiences too, where people invited me in. And then I wrote this little book for the grandkids to capture some of that, and realized that the word actually comes from a Greek word, philoxenia. It just means loving strangers as family. It doesn't mean entertaining. It doesn't mean you get mad if they're early or late. It doesn't mean that you have to impress the heck out of them. It just means let them in. We all need each other. We need to be loved.
All I can say is that's beautiful. Roger
Thanks.
and Emilio agree.
Wow.
It's unusual to hear somebody with that amount of gracious kindness in their voice, and the welcoming concept, the ethos, the passion, the heart you put into it, Annie. When I met you at the summit, and Annie said to me, she didn't know how many people were going to want to talk to her. I said, why wouldn't everybody? It's unusual and it's appreciated. And even though I'm not in your neighborhood and I'd love to drop in and I'd invite you into, funny thing is where I live here, I don't want to say anything because I don't think any of my neighbors, everybody wants to come in and see my house, but I'm never invited back. So I haven't seen any houses on my block, but everybody says, oh, can we come in and see what you've done? Because we know Charlie used to live there and we saw the child. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. It's very interesting. So I give a lot of tours, but I say thank you. And that's the last I see of them. Anyway, here we go. Thank you, Annie. That was lovely.
That was beautiful. Yeah.
Absolutely lovely. This is why I like getting interesting people together on this show, Roger, is to share stories. Wait till we get to the creativity statements and the quotes. This is going to blow you away. Emilio, you're busy. You're a practicing MD. You're working a clinic. You're a little late joining. I don't care as long as you are here. I'm delighted to meet you and welcome you. Emilio, I'm putting you on speaker view. Would you please fill in the blanks on who you are? Welcome.
Thank you so much, Radio Red. But first, before I talk about myself, let me give a big shout out and kudos to Annie, because I think she did herself a disservice. She's much more than what she talked about. I was privileged to be with her in some of the chat rooms during the publicity summit, so I got to listen to her over and over, and each time I learned more and more about her and her story, and I'm grateful to be here with her once again. So Annie, congratulations on all your endeavors. As far as me, kind of boring story. So I was born in Cuba, fled Cuba at the age of 3 with my parents, leaving Fidel Castro. Grew up actually with my grandparents about 1,000 miles away from my parents, because my parents were being reestablished in Gary, Indiana, of all places, Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5. And so my father was working 2 full-time jobs. My mother went down to Bloomington, Indiana, 3 hours away to restudy her college degree because she had her doctorate in education from the University of Havana. I grew up in Tarkio College, Missouri, with my grandparents from kindergarten through 4th grade, then moved to Indiana to reunite with my parents from 5th grade to high school. I was blessed to work hard in high school and become valedictorian, which set me off on a path to get into the University of Michigan's accelerated 6-year pre-medical medical program, graduated as a medical doctor at the age of 23, did 4 years of residency, and at the age of 27, moved from Washington, D.C. to Phoenix, Arizona, where I've been in practice now for 36 years, doing refractive cataract surgery and CO2 laser blepharoplasty. Those are kind of my claims to fame. And then in the last year, to leave a legacy to our 3 teenage children, I decided to embark on a journey of TEDx speaking. And I did my first TEDx talk a little over a year ago on delayed gratification, your superpower to success. It currently has over 6.5 million views on YouTube. I then decided, my wife's encouragement, to write my first book called The Power of Pause, Mastering Delayed Gratification for Success, which was released this past summer. And then I decided to write a second TEDx talk called Unleashing the Drive Within, the Obsession Advantage to Unprecedented Success. And that was released, I think, in May, and it has about 2.5 million views, give or take. So it's a new journey for me. I'm just trying to still practice medicine, which I love, but also use my creative side to do some different things, get out of my comfort zone, and leave a legacy for my children and future grandchildren.
Thank you very much. Very, very impressive. Interesting how your family was separated in so many ways for so long. And you're writing about success, and you are a success, but you created that success. Nobody handed it to you.
That's correct.
Nobody dropped the breadcrumbs and said, follow along, Emilio, it's all going to be okay. Isn't that interesting? I was shy as a child, at least I think I was. And then somehow I just opened up and started wanting to talk to people. I've done TV, I've done radio and live streaming, and it's interesting how we shift and morphed and the way we change and grow. I've had guests on this show tell me when I ask them for their origin story bio, they say nobody ever acknowledged them as a creative person before. They never thought they were creative until I asked them about their creativity. So I'm very grateful for that. Emilio, thank you so much. Lovely to have you. Roger Igo comes to us through, as I said, a mutual contact named Freddie Cruz, who has his own podcast. He's a major force in talking to people, interviewing. Roger, I don't do interviews anymore. I just do roundtables because I love to introduce people to each other and have them share their story. So
Awesome.
Roger, we are ready to hear fill in the blanks in the story I told about you. Roger, welcome. Go ahead.
Oh, yes. I'm very excited to be here, by the way. Thank you. I'm just very blessed to be a part of the program and the round table with such a fantastic group of people. I produce epic events, and what I do is by the way, I'm the CEO and founder of the Bell Tower on 34th, which we say is the leading location hosting weddings and special events in the #1 market, which is a mouthful, but you know what? We have over 1,000 5-star reviews. We've done over 5,000 weddings. We do a lot of weddings, done over probably 1,000 non-bridal events. $100 million worth of events since I started, but I really came out of bankruptcy. So I was a musician, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a risk taker, and I was the guy was flying private, and I had the $100,000 car in the driveway, but I was looking for loose change in the drawers and under the sofa cushions to put gas in the car and to pay for my kids' lunch money. And so I kind of came through that and through a windy, trials and tribulations where I searched high, and it was just very emotional to get through the whole bankruptcy thing. And man, finally was able to, a friend of mine said, you know the answer. And I eventually was able to navigate my way through it. And that's how I landed where we are today. And man, I used to do talent shows. I used to put together, all kinds of, I don't know. I was in the talent show. We did this garage band thing where the curtains opened, and I was just using theater props from the high school where we were doing this talent show in high school. I think that's where it really all started. But now I do event after event. It's kind of like running an airport. It's just things are going crazy. One event, there was lobsters on the dance floor. One event, we brought in 20 tons of sand for a luau. We have, lasers and robots and smoke and crazy wild animals and alligators and probably wild people too. We've had a streaker come through for a party, stuff you shouldn't do and probably can't unsee, but you saw it now. So that's what I do, and it's fun, and we have a blast, and we get to be fun and creative and do crazy stuff that no one will ever forget.
Epic sounds like it's an appropriate term for what you do. Just one quick question, Roger. How did you go from the bankruptcy and the talent shows in a high school, wherever in the high school, to big events that had 1,000 a year, as you said, non-bridal events, bridal
Yeah.
events? Well, just give us in 2 sentences. I'm going to make you be very creative here, Roger. In 2 sentences, how did you go from there to there? What got you there?
Oh, I read a book by Robert Cialdini called Persuasion, the art of psychology of persuasion, and I reread that over and over and over again, and I've used that to get things done. GSD, get stuff done.
Thank
And
you.
so it really does help, whether it's, deal making or whatever you need to do in life. For me, it's that one book.
That's what I
Yeah.
wanted to know. There had to be
Yeah.
a thread there somewhere. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Confidence, believing in your creativity. I've discussed meanings and shades and nuances of creativity with my guests on the show for years, and I'll never forget a couple years ago, one woman said, courageous creativity, and I like that a lot. And then somebody else said, curiosity creativity. Creativity is curiosity. It's what if, or what's next, or why not, or could I, should I, did I, do I want to? And again, why not? What if? Nobody else did it, why not me? So thank you very much. You're all living those questions, the answers to those questions. Now we're going to go to, I asked you each to send me a fictional quote from a movie or a TV character or a song lyric. I'm going to read a little background on your quote. I won't take too long and ask you to spend 2 or 3 minutes max. And by the way, if you see me doing this, I'm not being disrespectful. It's like, let's on a little bit, please. Don't just say, oh my God, she put the blue light on and my time is, I did stand up, so I know what the blue light is. Just wrap it up. And that means you're on camera and I'm not. I'm going to ask you to relate the quote to your creativity. Annie sent us an amazing quote. This is interesting. The character is Elizabeth Lizzie Bennett, played by Jennifer Ehle, Ehle, speaking to Mr. William Collins, played by David Bamber. And it's a 1995 6-episode British TV drama, Pride and Prejudice. Oh my goodness. Adapted from Jane Austen's 1813 novel. Very interesting. I just have to tell you, I don't know if you know this, Annie, the role of Mr. Darcy in this movie, in this series, elevated the actor Colin Firth to stardom. They showed him in a wet shirt. It was recognized as one of the most Roger saying, I'm next. No, you're not. And Emilio saying, I'm there to help you, Roger, if you need your eyesight fixed. A scene showing Colin Firth in a wet shirt was recognized as one of the most unforgettable moments in the entirety of British TV history. Very interesting. And not only that, the series inspired author named Helen Fielding to write, guess what? The Bridget Jones novels, and their screen adaptation featured Firth as Mark Darcy, Bridget Jones's love interest. Wow, talk about threads. So here's the quote Annie picked. Shelves in the closet? Happy thought indeed. I have no idea what that means, Annie. Would you please enlighten us? Go ahead.
Well, it comes at a point where Mr. Collins is trying to impress Lizzie, who has already rejected him as a suitor. And he has now married a very good friend of Lizzie's, and she goes to visit him. And he is trying to show her the kind of impressive life she could have had if she had married him. And so he is with a benefactor who is in this grand estate called Rosings, and he lives in the minister's cottage next door, but he is showing her the stairways, and he gets to the closet and he said, look at this, shelves in a closet. And she has thought of everything. And Lizzie just calmly replies, shelves in a closet, a happy thought indeed. And it's just this moment where my kids, every time we watch it, that becomes the repeatable line, because it is just one of those, it's sort of bizarre, but But yes, shelves in a closet are a very happy thought indeed. And so we use it a lot when we find something very mundane. And it's like, oh, a hanger to hang your coat. Happy thought indeed. And things that we take for granted, but long time ago, there were no shelves in closets, and it wasn't such a happy thought, and people just kind of throw things in there or on hooks. And I love it because I think it does talk about creativity, that at some point someone said, let's throw a shelf up there and see what happens. And the world's been full of shelves and closets ever since, so you never know. But I just, it has become this refrain for us as a family of sippy cup with a lid, happy thought indeed. Just things that are little but very wonderful, that they're part of the
Little
world.
things mean a lot. If I remember on the TV series Married with Children, I think Ed O'Neill owned the closet company. And that's what Julie Bowen's character, she took over as the CEO, and they were selling closets with shelves. There we go. Thank you very much. That was absolutely delightful, Annie. I appreciate that. Yes, shelves in closets is certainly a creative way of taking something and making it useful. Finally. Okay, here we go. Emilio has sent us a quote from a absolutely beautiful Barry Manilow song from 1976. It's on his album, This One's for You. It was also featured in the 1994 film Serial Mom. I don't know what that's about. Directed by John Waters and starring Kathleen Turner. I shudder to think. It's an up-tempo pop song composed by Manilow and Adrian Anderson, and it first appeared on this album. I don't want to sing it, but I'm humming it in my head, Emilio. How dare you? But it's daybreak. If you want to believe, it can be daybreak. Ain't no time to grieve. Said it's daybreak. If you'll only believe and let it shine, shine, shine.
All around the world.
There we go. Thank you. It's beautiful. What does this have to do with your creativity, Emilio? Go ahead, regale us. You can sing the rest of your segment too.
It gives me creativity. It to me, I don't know what it is. I'm a huge Manilow fan to begin with, and I'm proud to say it. Right? I mean, a lot of my friends, like back in college and even after college, would give me grief. That it's an embarrassment to be a Manilow fan. But hey, I say it proudly. I've always been a Manilow fan,
Me too.
and so I love all of his songs, but this particular song just uplifts my spirit. Whenever I hear it, it just gives me the creative juices. It puts a smile on my face. It signifies the daybreak that you got to believe. Let it shine, shine, shine all around the world, right? So I just love it. I can't put it in any simpler terms.
That's lovely. And thank you for singing. And I hope I didn't mess it up too much. I tried desperately not to sing, but once it was just in my head. Da 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 da
I sing
da
much
da
better in the
da da.
shower. Sing much better
Oh,
in the shower. So.
don't we all, dear? Don't we all? As long as, yes, nobody's listening except us. Thank you. Let's go to Roger Igo. Roger has picked an absolutely iconic classic line from the movie The Wizard of Oz, a 1939 musical fantasy film. I'm always marveling at how they've picked that genre. It's not a comedy, it's a musical, it's not an adventure, it's definitely not sci-fi, and it's definitely not a romance movie, but they picked musical fantasy. The Wizard, played by Frank Morgan. This was, interestingly enough, MGM did an adaptation of L. Frank Baum's famous 1900 children's fantasy novel, which was called The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. That was the novel. Victor Fleming was directing it, producing it, and guess what? Gone with the Wind was at another studio. It was in trouble. So he left The Wizard of Oz and he went over to finish directing and taking over Gone with the Wind. I thought you'd get a kick out of that. Interestingly enough, Roger, the movie, I'll read the quote in a second, failed to make a profit for MGM until it was re-released in 1949. It earned only $3 million on a $2.7 million budget. OMG, you can't do events for that. MGM's most expensive production at the time. Very interesting. And you all know the story. Here's the quote. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. The great Oz has spoken. And he pulls the curtain back down. Roger across. Roger, tell us, how'd you pick this? And what does this have to do with you? Go ahead. Are you the wizard?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I am not that wizard, but I am kind of some people think of me like that. A lot of stuff going on behind the curtain that no one sees. And, we do have at our place, we say you're either on stage or off stage. So we don't want people to see backstage, and that's where the sausage is made. And we try to don't let people see where the sausage is made, but we have a lot of control, the ropes and pulleys, a theater reference, really. It's the ropes and pulleys and the lights and the controls and the buttons and the air, music, sound, lights, all of those things are happening behind the scenes. And it's not all of it is me, but it's, I guess the maiden voyage maybe was me when we set sail in the beginning, but these days we have a team of, it's our creative team, and it's our design team, and it's our technical team, and our special effects department, all behind the scenes doing it, and they're doing it right. So that is okay. Maybe I'm Oz a little bit, but I don't want to be, I don't want to be Oz. I'm not trying to be Oz because there's only one Oz, but maybe kind of. Maybe
Very
another life.
interesting that the wizard paid no attention to that man behind the curtain. Well, our creativity, is it supposed to be magic? Are we supposed to share it? There is several, as you know, around the world, very famous magicians with sleight of hand, trompe l'oeil, who just know how to do things that nobody can believe. We all know they're lying and making it up, right? But we're not supposed to see, right, Roger, the hands behind the curtain. Well, a relative of mine who has everything in the world he already needs said to me, Mom, for Hanukkah, could you buy me this guy's book? I want to see if I can learn something about how he does it. I said, yes, just send it to me on your wish list, and your wish is my command. So we'll talk about that another time. Anyway, thank you all for the quotes. It's interesting. I have people who fight me tooth and nail, Emilio, guests who say, I don't watch TV. I don't watch movies. I don't listen to music. What do you want from me? I'm going to pick my favorite quote from an author or a comedian. I say, no, you're not. And I have collected from my guests. I have about 150 quotes from movies and songs. And I'll say, here, get inspired. Use one. One of my quotes is the one you picked, Roger, and I appreciate that very much. The other one from Wizard of Oz is, Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore. That's another very famous one. Yes. Another one is from Jerry Maguire. You had me at hello, Dorothy. Yes, we know that one. Anyway, I'm always intrigued with the songs and the movies and the TV shows my guests pick for their quotes that mean something to them. That's what we're looking for. Just an interesting way to do it. Okay, it's time for creativity statements. Like we haven't already been doing that. Of course we have. Annie, I've picked your statement number 1. You don't need to find it. I will read it for you. I'd like you to take about 2 minutes and unpack it for us. And then Emilio and Roger, there's a magic thing we do on the show. I think you each have 10 fingers. If you can signal one of the nice ones at me, I don't respond to the middle finger, but wiggle one of your nice fingers and I will see you on the screen. Don't you love Zoom? And I will call on you and you'll have a minute to respond. And other than that's great, I love it. If there's something you want to add about how it impacts your creativity, if it means something to you, if it inspires something, that's what we want to know. So here's what Annie told me in statement 1. She says, one weekend I visited the zoo, the botanical gardens, and the high art gallery with a friend from out of town in just a few hours. I was amazed to see the patterns repeated on animals, plants, and man-made art and textiles. So much of my creativity comes as echoes of the natural world. Why don't you tell us more, Annie? This is beautiful. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I think when you see these things one at a time, that you kind of like, oh yeah, that fabric, whatever, looks like a giraffe or whatever. But when I went from the zoo to the botanical gardens to the High Museum, and started looking at the patterns in the art and the different things depicted, it was like, oh my gosh, as much as we are creative, we're just borrowing the creativity that is found in nature. And I was just so struck by that we rarely think up anything new. We can't. We're so finite. And yet I believe that there is an incredibly creative God that has put these things that are so pleasing to the eye, that are so pleasing to our senses, that we want to see them. We want to see them in our fabrics. We want to see them in our art. And what was really cool was to see the number of patterns that were similar on flowers and in some of the wildlife at the zoo. And I hadn't really thought about even that. But for me, again, it gave me a thrill that, yes, there is a master designer, and the closer we can tap into the things there and get refreshed, I think the more our own creativity flows. It's okay to borrow those things, but it's just so fun then to see them displayed through various creative lenses, whether it's paint or fabric or music or old art, new art, just all sorts of things. The colors, the textures, the pottery, the intricacies. It was just really fun to see the threads that came across, but also just the delightful nuances and originality in each of those things.
Annie, what's your favorite flower, and do you decorate your home when you're doing your hospitality invitations? Emilio, I see you. Just give me a second here. Annie, do you have a favorite flower that whose patterns are especially enjoyable for you?
Well, as far as a favorite flower, I love hydrangeas just because they come in a zillion different varieties, and so I don't necessarily decorate with hydrangeas. I just love them.
Okay, thank you. Emilio, comment, please. Go.
Oh, no, great comments. I love what Annie's saying, but it did spark the curiosity in me, the creative curiosity of, did you get that beautiful leopard print when you were at the zoo visiting?
Yeah, this actually came from Ireland, which was
very good, Emilio.
I found out that I was 93% Irish, but I had a German maiden name on both sides. And so, you do the DNA and I'm Irish. So I got a chance to go to Ireland for the first time this June. And again, there's something just cool when you go back to some place where your peoples came from. And anyways, Ireland's very green and pretty. Fun. And
it's very pretty.
I was just yanking your chain, Annie.
I know you were. But
Emilio, it is a beautiful scarf. I want to move on to Emilio. Thank you, Annie. I'm looking at your number one statement. This is interesting. Talk about going back to, Annie, where you're from. Emilio says, the vibrant spirit of my Cuban heritage dances through my creativity, infusing my work, and he's a surgeon, my work with rhythm and passion. And this allows me to write my TEDx talks and establish a family-friendly rapport with each of my patients. That is a packed statement, Emilio. Would you please unpack it? Take your 3 minutes. Go.
Yes. Well, as my staff who've been with me for a long time know, when I'm in the office, we have music playing throughout the entire office. When I'm in surgery, I have music playing, and I'm typically at least humming, if not singing. So it's a comment that our patients repeatedly bring up over and over, even years later. They say, oh, yeah, I remember you were singing while you were doing my surgery. And so to me, music is my soul. I mean, I love music. And back in the day, in the 70s, right, Radio Red, we're probably in the same generation. We're both around 40, 45. So,
I'll take it. I'll take it, love.
So,
I
back
knew I
in the
liked
70s, again, just like I'm proud to say that I'm a Manilow fan, I'm also proud to say that I was the number one disco person in the world. I mean, no one could like disco more than me. I'm telling it just the way it is.
Emilio,
Yes.
I taught disco. I created line dances. I had hundreds and hundreds of students taking my, Saturday Night Fever style disco dance. I had 250 people packed into a cafeteria in a high school somewhere near Eugene, Oregon, that my partner at the time said, we're teaching. He got $5 an hour. I got $2.18 an hour. I said to them, I cannot wear high heels and dance on top or Formica tabletop. There's going to be an accident. I never fell. They finally built a wooden stage for me the next week. I said, I'm doing all the work like Ginger Rogers with Fred Astaire backwards and in heels. They said, lady, you want $5 an hour? Go start your own damn class. We're only giving you $2.17. You're the helper. That's the way it was. It was an hour and a half drive each way to get to this godforsaken place. And at the end of 10 weeks, we still had almost 200 people out of the 250. We called it You Should Be Dancing. And it was line dances. And he and I were fighting and battling on the stage. And I'd say, they're going to do this next. He'd say, no, they're not. And we were battling. We were ending the relationship in front of Jordan. Anyway, and what can I tell you? I was in a disco Hawaii contest with my next dance partner named Michael, and we came in third. What we didn't know, Emilio, was that the woman who took first place owned her own damn dance studio and didn't tell anybody. What can I tell you? But we danced to MacArthur Park Suite.
Oh yeah, Donna Summer.
Donna Summer, and it was the segment that was called Heaven Knows.
Yes.
We sewed our own
Heaven.
costumes. We came in from opposites. I was 98 pounds. He lifted me, did a spin, death drop to the floor. My skirt was a 360 black satin with a bow at the waist. I had black fishnet stockings. Roger's loving this, you can imagine. And he turned me around an inch above the floor, and then I righted myself and we did our routine. We came in third, and it was one of the thrills of my life. And I taught it at lunchtime to women from senior centers. I taught them line dances, disco, baby.
Disco,
Emilio,
baby. That's what it's all about.
I knew I liked you, and I love Barry
yeah,
Manilow.
You know, in college, University of Michigan, I was a disc jockey for the college radio station, and I would play disco songs. And of course, back then, you know, 3/4 of the college student hated it and trashed me, but I didn't care. I would still play those disco songs.
I think some stadium and around that afterward, years later, had a throw out the disco. People brought their 45 RPM records and they threw them in a pile and burned them. What can I tell you? Yeah, that was a terrible day in history. Roger, I'm looking at your statements. I'm going to read two of them. One I don't understand at all, but let's go with the one I think I know. You say creativity to me means being able to evoke a certain emotion through my craft. Annie's going to love this one. I produce epic events no one will ever forget. You said that already, but events make you cry. Events make you laugh. Events can inspire. Events can challenge. Events can make you feel connected and loved. Whatever the goal, I can create an event that will evoke any of these emotions. Roger, this is a wow. Why don't you unpack it for us? Go ahead, please.
Well, yeah, I mean, events can change the course of history. Like the event you went to where you met the person you love the most and spend an eternity with, or maybe the event that caused the guy to decide he was going to go who became, you know, what we know as Gandhi, right? Something happened, something clicked. There was an event, something like maybe people weren't always born like that. So it is we call it sound, lights, air, music, which spells slam. You do the vibe dimension, you do, you know, certain artifacts, you have bring in nostalgia and you can design it backwards. So you start it with the end result in mind, which is my audience 3 generations from now better remember this. And you can reverse engineer it back through the vibe dimension, through the energy slope, through all of the components we build into the events, all the way back to the birth and the conception and birth of the event, which was when you decided there needs to be an event. And that's where we come in at the beginning, but we start with the end in mind. And so if you say, I want them to cry, is one of my clients, he said, it's her birthday, I want her to cry. So we did everything we could to introduce all of those key little moments that no one will ever think of. And we have the surprise guest, like the 3rd grade teacher comes out from nowhere and says, you know, I didn't know you were happy birthday, you know, just things like that, where maybe it's on the, you know, it's your anniversary on the bow of the ship or, you know, the yacht. And here comes this, looks like it's going to crash. It's the biplane. And at the last second, it turns and sprays rose petals all over the bow of the ship. And then that's when you propose. So, you know, it's that kind of, you know, you want to evoke emotion. You want to make them cry. You want to make them gasp. You want to make them be, ooh, gross. That's gross. Or, you know, it's like you've gone to you've been on a roller coaster or a TED Talk or a sermon or walked out of the movie, and you leave that with this feeling. And so whatever that feeling is, when you leave the theater or get off the roller coaster or leave that important talk, you want people to remember that. Obviously, it's those moments, and you want people to say, I was there. I was there. And so that's our goal with every event that we do.
That's lovely. And you're paraphrasing a famous quote from Maya Angelou. It's not what people remember what you said, it's how you made them feel.
Yeah,
Right? That's the
right.
quote. You have two more statements in here. I just want to read them briefly. One, you say, I'm a goober. We're creative, but we just say stupid things for no reason. Can you unpack that for me? I have no idea what that means. I'm sorry.
I don't know. Sometimes, my wife would probably like that one the most, just because, like, we arrived at dinner last night and someone said, "Hey, how you doing?" And I said, "I brought my snorkel, a snorkel mask." And it's like, "What do you mean by that?" I don't know. It's just something you'll remember tomorrow after you drink too many cocktails. And there's that guy who brought his snorkel mask, right? But I never saw the snorkel mask. It's just things that but it keeps my creativity flowing. And I like to say weird things sometimes that will mark the moment. And then now they'll remember me. If they remember nothing else, there was that weird guy that said something weird and he was a goober, but whatever. And it kind of helps, it creates the vibe. It kind of makes it sort of, I don't know, spikes the memory right there. And then it becomes a memorable event. And then maybe next time they'll remember my face or my name, or maybe I was just that weird guy that said something funny or stupid,
I like that. And one more you say, and I think everybody will appreciate this. You say, I'm a saxophone player. I like to improvise. I will just tell you that as far I did stand-up comedy. I had my own troupe years ago in New York and on Long Island. We public libraries and boarded bookstores. They paid me and my partner cash and gift certificates. We gave the gift certificates to our comedians, and they had a ball buying records and magazines and books and the Borders. But what was I going to say? I took improv from a class from a couple of people in Manhattan. I was living on Long Island, and one of them was from Michael Gelman, who came from Chicago Second City. And it was nothing more fun than going to an improv class. And the deal with improv, and I don't know if you agree with this, Roger, or anybody, is that it's not, it's my turn, it's my turn. It's when does the room need you? When does the scene need something that only you can give it? It's not, I'm here, you didn't hear from me yet. So there's a sense of jumping in. But my theory is that we're all improving our lives. We're all creatives, right, Emilio? We're
Absolutely.
We're making it up as we go along, right, Annie? Nobody said
Absolutely.
Annie was going to open her house to strangers and meet people all over the world. Nobody said Roger was going to produce epic events. Nobody said Emilio was going to be a renowned surgeon and honor his Cuban roots. Nobody said any of that. We're making it up. When you pick up the phone, when you write an email, you're improving it, unless you're following a book or something like that. So I love that word, improv. So sax, what genres of music do you play with your sax, Roger? We want to know briefly.
Well, it's, I mean, as I always liked jazz and blues, but then I was in a funk band for a while. But then now I just play in the ballroom. I just get my saxophone out because I like to hear the echoing of the. So sometimes I just jam. I just jam to my own whatever comes to mind, and I just improvise.
Nice. I want to move now into, we've just got about 8 minutes left, and I want to move into the segment of the show where I've done my homework and I have some famous events, famous birthdays, and some other things to tell you about what's happening this week in the world, things you probably have never heard of. So, in 1956, on this day, November 18th, Fats Domino sang, Emilio, you want to sing this, Blueberry Hill? He sang it on the Ed.
I found my thrill on Blueberry
How did
Hill.
I know he would do that for me? You're wonderful. He sang it on the Ed Sullivan Show. On this day in 1963, Beatles manager Brian Epstein asked the fans to stop throwing jelly babies, which were little jelly beans, at the concert. You know why? The Beatles told the audience, "We love Jelly Belly." So they all brought them and they started throwing at them. So Epstein said, "Would you stop, please?" On this day in 1968, Glenn Campbell's By the Time I Get to Phoenix and Gentle on My Mind were both certified gold, 1968. In 1988, the Beach Boys appeared on a Full House episode called Beach Boy Bingo. bringing Uncle Jesse, John Stamos, and the Tanner family on stage during a Beach Boys show. Turns out John Stamos in real life performs with the Beach Boys, and he appears in the video for Kokomo, interestingly enough. And this day in 1990, Paul McCartney, you all heard of him, his birth certificate was auctioned off for a mere, we could have all bought this, $18,000. On this day in 1994, the Rolling Stones became the first major act to stream a live concert on the internet, 20 minutes from their show at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas. It was just to promote a pay-per-view concert because very few people could get the live webcast, but they took a chance on that. Let's see. Interesting. In 2002, a man named Bill Wyman, W-Y-M-A-N, who was the former bassist for the Rolling Stones, we're staying in that family of music, you can tell, sent a cease and desist letter to a man who was born with the same name, who was a writer at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. He said the man's name violated Wyman's copyrighted name, which he took legally at the age of 28 in 1964. Like how many decades earlier, there was never a lawsuit filed. And finally, John Lennon's Nowhere Man original handwritten lyrics were auctioned at Christie's for $455,000. I thought you'd enjoy that. Today is singer-songwriter Johnny Mercer's birthday, 1909. He wrote One for My Baby and One for the Road. Remember that old black magic? And he added lyrics to instrumentals like Satin Doll. On this day, 1927, Hank Ballard was born. He wrote The Twist before Chubby Checker did it. Owen Wilson, the comedian, 55 years old today. Zoolander, Marley and Me, Wedding Crasher, do you know him? Damon Wayans, the comedic actor, 41. Happy birthday. Kirk Hammett, I put him in here because he's the lead guitarist for Metallica. And he was ranked number 11 on Rolling Stone's all-time best guitarist list. Guess what? He worked at Burger King to make enough money to pay for a Marshall amplifier. You can appreciate that, Roger. Okay, I have some social media stars for you. Got a couple minutes left. On YouTube, there's a young lady named Pop, P-O-P-P, Kell, K-E-L-L. She's 34. Why are we celebrating her birthday? She specializes in videos of Grand Theft Auto, Call of Duty, The Sims, blah, blah, blah. One of her videos got 2.3 million views since 2013. She's 34. Happy birthday. Then on Instagram, we have an international model. I had to be still my heart, Emilio. This is a very good looking man. His name is Nick Bateman. He has 6 million followers. He's an international model. He was a child karate tournament champion, and he started a karate movement and blah, blah, blah. And he won all kinds of awards and intensely good looking. Happy birthday, Nick. And on TikTok, Kit Price is only 22, but Kit Price has a video that got 20 million views. He does comedic. Today is Odd Sock Day. What can I tell you? Socks have been around since cavemen wrapped animal skins around their feet and tied them around their ankles for warmth. And the Romans modernized the sock during 8th century BC. What can I tell you? It's Apple Cider Day. And it's National Vichyssoise Day. We'll just leave that one on the table. It's November still. Adopt a Pet Month. Manatee Awareness. Emilio, are you aware of manatees?
I am.
I figured. Roger, can you force yourself to be aware of manatees? Could we give them
yes.
Give them a party? Annie, I'm sure you have some in the stream behind your house. It's Gratitude Month. It's Novel Writing Month. And I don't see anybody with a beard, but it's No Shave November. So we'll leave that one alone. November, Pepper Month. Pomegranate Month, Raisin Bread. I still haven't found a good brand of raisin bread. They're either too thick, they're either too hard, they have too much cinnamon, they choke me. Peanut Butter Month. Oh, yes. Fun with Fondue Month. Definitely Banana Pudding Month. Yes, absolutely. I have another couple minutes. Let's get a closing statement from each of you on the real meaning of creativity to you. I need 2 sentences because we're almost out of time and I have to close. Annie, 2 sentences, not with long commas in between. What does creativity mean to you? Real fast.
It's just our essence and it comes out. We don't need directions. We just get to do it.
Oh, that was lovely. I'm going to quote you on that. Emilio, what does creativity mean to you?
Being authentic, curious, and explorational or explorative.
Ooh, and I swapped the word authentic. I call it real deal with a hyphen. That's what I say.
Yes.
Roger, what does creativity mean to you?
I mean, you got to think outside of the box. I mean, that's a weird thing to say. Everybody likes that one, but I mean, color inside the lines, color outside the lines, or just scribble all over the place. That's, I mean, it's you got to just be authentic and genuine, and then people either like it or they don't.
Scribble all over the place. I like that. That's
Yeah.
a good one. That's a keeper. Okay. In 2014, I had a list of the top 10 tips for women. I won't bore you pretty much, but tip number 9 was when life gives you lemons, make lemonade and add vodka. I want you to know that. And similarly, when life gets you down, put on your big girl or big boy panties and deal with it. And if the shoe fits, Annie, buy one in every color. I've done a couple of those. The big one that I love to remember is, this was 10 years ago. Number 1 tip was aspire to be Barbie. The biatch has everything. And this was 10 years before the movie was made. I leave you with that. Here we go. I'm going to close now. Listen up. I need you to join me. Life is short. Huh? Break the rules. Definitely. Right, Roger? Right, Emilio? Right, Annie? Break the rules. Forgive quickly? Not so much. Kiss slowly? Yes. Love truly? Laugh uncontrollably. Join me. 1, 2, 3. Don't force yourself. And never regret anything that made you smile. Final words. Work like you don't need the money. Dance like no one's watching. When I was teaching disco, oh, they watched. What legs? People could see me across a bank and say, oh, she's here. Sing like nobody's listening. Emilio, you did a good job. Love like you've never been hurt. We all have. Get over it. Let your heart regrow, regroup, rejoice, love again. Money talks, chocolate sings, la. And last but not least, I stole this line from somebody years ago. Thank you for turning me on. Radio Red signing off. Michael, are we out? Don't go away, guest. We'll talk. Michael, are we good?
We are out.
Okay, bye.